So what I'm doing here is going to walk you through Illustrator and using the perspective grid tool and the perspective selection tool, and so that you can do this current assignment in your class. All right, so I'm going to open up our assignment here and kind of just show you what it is, walk through it a little bit here, and then go into Illustrator and we'll go ahead and walk through it in there. So the assignment is just drawing in perspective. And so what you're going to do is use this perspective grid tool in Illustrator, and you do not need to know how to draw. So that's the one thing that I want to stress here, is that you don't need to know how to draw. You can use the rectangle tool or circles or oblong or whatever, and with this perspective grid tool, Illustrator will go ahead and draw it for you. It's kind of whatever colors you choose, however you want to create the windows. You can put styles, bevel and emboss and that kind of thing on the windows to make them stand out, or you can even draw shutters or something on the sides of the building. But that's basically what you're going to be doing. The file size, I'm going to edit this 1 second real quick here because it looks like I didn't save it when I edited it earlier. So the file size is going to be a 10 by 5.625 inches. And that's down below here as well. There's a couple videos in here that walk you through the tool as well, but I'm going to walk you through it. The general specifications for this are that you need to have a minimum of 4 buildings, and you need to have detail on them, so something like windows and doors and signs, and then I put in here a minimum of 1 window, 1 door, and 1 sign or text that you maybe want to put on the side of a shop or something. And then that's it. Now here's some samples from students that they did in the past. And you might go, well, I can't do that. Well, yeah, you can. It's really easy. It's just squares drawn on, again, on the perspective grid tool. Now this person is kind of more of an artist, so that they did put, draw people and that kind of thing in here. But the general layout of this is these are just windows. These are just squares that make it look like they're windows. They use a darker color to show shading, so it looks like the sun is coming in from here or from the front, because there's sun on this side too, so this is a lighter shade. And then what they did was just used one of those texturizers, and they created texture on all of this. So that's all in Illustrator if you want to explore that. I don't require that, but you can go in and do take it to another level, as this student did, by drawing in, brushing in some textures here and that kind of thing to kind of create that scene, and then down the street as well. This one as well was an artist. She is an artist. And so she kind of hand drew this, but it gives you an idea as, like these windows here and stuff. She went and did the perspective with these, used the perspective grid tool, and then she went in and hand drew the rest of this in here. This as well was just an artist that created that. And then here's one that, again, just did her own drawing, but I put these 3 in here like this so that you could just see, if you are an artist and you want to just go ahead and draw your own scene, you're welcome to do that. And then this is one that's just using the perspective grid tool and drawing the street down the center here, changing the colors, drawing in a little door, all of this stuff. What's on here right now, you guys, if you don't know how to draw, you can do this in Illustrator. These are just gradients on the windows that created that on each window here. So they colored it with a gradient. They use that same gradient in the sky up here and so on. So don't think that something like this isn't beyond the realm of what you can do. I'll put in some other samples here too that are a little simpler so that you can go in and kind of see what, what's possible with whatever level of drawing that you're at. I don't grade on the level of the drawing, as just that you have the minimum specifications in there, and that basically it looks like a street scene of some kind. All right. Don't forget that today your thumbnails are due, so Saturday, October 24th. So you need to have your thumbnails. And again, thumbnails are just pencil drawings. That's not something you do in Illustrator. You get out a notebook, drawing pad, an 8.5 by 11 letterhead piece of, typing paper, something like that. And then you just scribble scenes, kind of how you would like the perspective, what you want it to look like. Again, if you don't know how to draw, that's okay. You're just sketching little squares and little windows and so on. That's going to be your thumbnails. All right. Going into Illustrator now, we're going to create that file that's going to be, so I'm going to go up to File, New, and I will turn on my little red point dot here too. So that's on. And again, it's going to be 5.625 for the height. And it might, depending, round this off to 5.3 or something, and that's okay. 5.63, that's okay. All right, and that's it. You don't need to do anything else in there. Just, create the file size. Now I'm going to shut, I am going to get my swatches up because the first time I started to record this, I didn't have a couple things up and you guys had to wait for me to fumble around here and try and find my files. I'm going to hide my appearance down there, and then I do want my layers. And I don't really need my Kuler and color guide. So this is kind of what I'm going to do for my initial setup here. And then I can always go in and get other panels if I need them. And then I'm going to go ahead and get up that perspective grid tool. So it's right here. So it looks like an actual windows, a whole bunch of windows, a whole bunch of squares. I'm not going to click on that. And then this is kind of what you're going to see. So the initial default is this is how it's going to kind of appear. All right, so what are all these buttons on here, all these little dots and so on? What do they do? So this bottom one moves your grid up and down. So that's how you actually, this bottom left one here, that's how you actually move it up and down. If you want to, start up higher than this and you wanted to put something else down below here, whatever. I mean, that's depending on what you're drawing. These dots here, this one here is going to take the grid up. And even when you roll over it, it kind of shows you that anyway. So when I roll over, see how it gets that double arrow there that's pointing down? So that's showing you that you can change it to where it's now at this angle, your street scene. So it's kind of like you're looking at it from up on top of a shorter building or something, and you're looking down. That's kind of what that angle is. And you guys can draw these in whatever angle you want. This one here, what this does is move it in. And again, it gives you that double arrow, so it's showing you what that's doing. So it's moving that side in. I'm going to pull that back out. This one as well moves it in from the other side. So I could have like a grid like that where the street's kind of coming down this way. And then I could play with, my height. If I wanted it to be lower, I could do something like that. So it all depends on your vision. And when you do your sketches, do kind of play with that and try and figure out, how do you want it? What kind of perspective do you want? Do you want it from up or down or whatever? If I move from this point up on top, obviously that's going to close that up. So that makes sense, right? And the same with this bottom one. Now, what these are is kind of the length of the grid. So if I pull that out, I get more and more of the grid in there. And then these three down here, this is important because if you want to do things like separating things, separating some of these windows, these perspectives, let's say you wanted to pull this away from here, maybe you wanted look like this, and then you wanted a street going down the center. Now you can do these in pieces. So you can absolutely do this where you widen these two sides. So now you have a perspective going this way and a perspective going this way. That's kind of how that scene was down the other center. Of course, it went in. And then there was, you know, a street kind of down the center. Or you could build a wall here, another wall, so you're looking at it from a different angle that way. I'm going to kind of put that back a little bit here. And I'm actually going to, because I'm envisioning how I'm going to draw this, so I'm going to, I think I'll go this way. So I'm going to draw it this way when I show you how to do this. Then I'll put my sign over. Which way do I want to go? Trying to make up my mind here. I guess I'll go this way. All right. And then I'll put the shade down here. And now this lower one here is kind of how the my center one here. This is my center. So my center one is again kind of how the visual going down and then the visual coming up. So that's kind of what we're doing there. And I'm just going to put it right in here. So once you get your grid laid out and you know kind of now what you're going to be doing, what you want to do in here is go ahead and I recommend too that you get up your swatches to begin with so that you have a choice of colors, you know, that you can use. I'm just going to kind of use some of these swatches in here, I think, and, you know, not go through setting up a whole one. I don't want to waste the time on this video to do that, but I would recommend that you go into the color guide or you go into Kuler, one of those, and get yourself some swatches with some colors that you want for your buildings. All right, the next important part is this and how this works. So if this blue is highlighted here, and I'm just going to get my square, I don't want a stroke, so I'm taking my stroke off, and then I want a fill color, and of course that's all up here too, so you can, you know, click and get a fill. I'll just get some kind of orange. I'm going to do kind of a southwestern look here on these buildings. And then I'm going to go over here with the perspective grid with the square, and I've got my perspective grid up. I'm going to go ahead and click and drag and draw one side of the building. And that's all there is to it. And you can envision that as you continue to do that, that this is just going to keep, you know, kind of going down the street here, and you're going to continue to create buildings and so on. So the point I want to make for this is that when the blue is highlighted over here, that means you're drawing on this side, and that's the perspective you're drawing in. All right, let me take that out, Command Z, and let's look at this one. So this one now is going to have you drawing on this side. So if I click and drag over here, now it draws in perspective on the right side. All right, I'm going to undo that. The bottom one here is down here. So it's actually the plane. If I click and drag, you'll see that it's drawing it on that plane on the floor. And then the last one is this outside here. That means that you aren't drawing on any plane. So if you want to just create some artwork up here, and then you want to, which we're going to do a little later here, then you want to take it and drag it down here. That's how you do it, is kind of just put it up here and then drag it down onto your plane, if that works easier for you. All right, the other important thing with this is that you need to know the keyboard shortcuts, because there's going to be times when you're going to take this and you're going to actually want to take something that you drew up here, and then you want to select it and drag it down into perspective. But you can't select this and start dragging without then having to go over here and be able to change. Well, you can't do both. So you can't be dragging and then release the mouse and go over here and select the way you want to drag. So those keyboard shortcuts are: one is this blue. So your number one is the blue. Number two is the bottom. So that's drawing at street level. Number three is your right side here, or the orange. And you can see that these are all, blue, orange. They match up to what these are. And then four is drawing just plain on up here without drawing in perspective. All right, one last thing I want to show you before I start kind of drawing is I want to go up here and kind of show you the window. The view, I mean. So under view, perspective grid, you have 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, and 3-point perspective. 1-point perspective is this. So it's going down the center of the street. And you can then, once you have this, you can go in here, of course, and change this and move it to this side. All right, and I'll show you that a little later here, but you can take this and kind of move it, flip it to this side, and then keep flipping back and forth so that you can, grab it and see the different see the different views there. If I click on my perspective grid tool, I guess since I'm in here, I'll just show it to you now. But as I grab my perspective grid tool, you'll see that I can take this and move it to the other side of the street. So it might be where you draw first over here, and you draw, and kind of create this, all the buildings going down the center. And then you take this and you flip it over here, and now you can draw. All those that you drew over here are still going to be there. They'll stay there. But that's kind of the idea of this. You can easily do this, both sides. And then all these kind of work the same, where this moves it up and down and so on. All right, going into the next one, if I go to, perspective grid and then go to 2-point perspective, that's kind of where we were to begin with. And then I'm going to go up to view and 3-point perspective, and this is going to be looking down on top of a building. So let's say, you're looking and you want to do a view where you're actually maybe over here somewhere, and you're looking down at the street level. So you're welcome to do that if that's the perspective you want. So it's kind of a bird's eye view there. All right, I'm going to go in to my where I was here with my 2-point perspective. And then I'll go ahead and move my windows back again, like kind of how I had it a little bit here. And then I'm going to start to draw here and show you how to go in and create these buildings. I'm going to shorten this a little bit here, because I do want to kind of come right to the point there. And I don't want that any wider. All right, I'll move that up a little bit too. So now we've got it kind of sitting right in the window there. Now, it's not that you can't draw all the way out here and you can't draw something up here and around here, whatever. But the initial perspective is what I'm kind of trying to get here for myself. All right, I'm going to get a blue color here. And I'm going to envision that the sun is coming in on this side. So this is going to be the lighter tone, lighter color. And then this will be a little darker. So that's kind of the tonal values here that I want to get. And so I'm going to choose this, just a blue here. And then, and actually I'm gonna, sorry, my mouse just all of a sudden started to flutter around here. Oh, come on. All right. Actually gonna get it a little bit more of a deeper tone. And I'm gonna save this swatch. Now, to save swatches, because I want to make sure that I can use it later, all you have to do is click on this and drag it down into your swatches panel. And that's how you kind of build your swatches here when you start finding colors that you like. All right, I'm going to get my square. I'm on my grid. I'm going to go ahead and click one side here of a building and create that. And there you go. All right. Let's create another one. I'll do a kind of deep orange. And make sure that you don't do what I just did. You need to deselect. And then I'll choose an orange here, and I'm going to make it a little deeper than that. And then say, okay. I'm going to put that in my swatches so I have it for later. Get my rectangle tool here. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw another side of a building here. And this one I'm going to kind of run a little bit further down. So this one is going to be down here more. But I can't just all of a sudden like grab this and pull it down. All I'm going to be doing is drawing more squares. So that's where this perspective grid selection tool comes in. So I want to click on this and hold down my mouse. Underneath there is the perspective selection tool. All right. Now I can grab this and drag it down into perspective, and it'll stay in perspective. So keep that in mind. You don't want to get your selection tool and move this, because if I did that and then I clicked and dragged here, now it's not drawing it, see, in perspective. It's just drawing it out. So you don't want to do that. If you want to move something in perspective on the grid, then stick with this perspective selection tool. And then you can select it and move it. All right, I'm going to go to the other side over here. So to get over here and draw, I'm going to go ahead and get my and you need a perspective grid tool to do this now. I'm going to get this one selected. If you remember, that was the 3 key. And I wanted to select that so you noticed that I was changing grids here. And then I'm going to get a deeper blue. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this, but then I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to get that blue that I had created here. I'm going to, well, double click at this stage of the game and just kind of darken it. So I want it deeper because I want to be able to show that it's, you know, at night, or I mean, that this is not, that this here is where the sun is shining, and then this is a little bit darker. So I'm going to go ahead and make that a little darker there. Say, okay, I want to save that swatch. And now I'm going to get my rectangle tool and I'll go ahead and draw. Remember, I'm on the 3. That's 3. All right, so that's starting to look okay. And I can extend this down a little further. And I'm just, you know, playing with this. I don't know really if I wanted to put another color, different colored building down here. Maybe a yellow might kind of be nice. Or a teal, you know, a teal blue or something I could do. So if I deselected that, maybe some kind of a teal color might look kind of nice. Kind of, you know, if I was going with Southwestern, that might work. Go ahead and draw that. But you know how some of the towns, Spanish towns, have this kind of colored buildings all the way around. It's like yellow and mauves and so on. And so I don't know. That's kind of my thought here. I want this to be a little bit darker because it's too light for trying to be in the shade there. So it looked like it's in the shade. It was a little too light. That's too dark. All right, that looks good. All right, so there we go. Now you can do doors and windows and so on. That's easy enough. If I wanted to put maybe some blue windows here and a blue door or something just to offset stuff. Now thinking that maybe the doors, right here, right in the center, think about where you want to draw that. And again, I want this blue over here, but I'm going to get in the habit of changing it with my keys here, because I'm going to show you in a second how to create a sign, and I need you to be able to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a door. I'm going to do this green in here. We'll stick with blue, so I'll do the blue. All right, I'm going to draw a door. Let's envision, how high do we want it? And then we need to move it because that's not low enough. So to move it, remember, I got to get my perspective selection tool. And I'm going to pull this down. And maybe I even would want to create some steps to, go up into the door. I need a door handle, so I could create a little square maybe of that orange or something just to offset colors. So I'm going to get that orange. I'm going to get my rectangle tool. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. And then I'll put a little door handle here. And then down the line here, oops, where's my door handle? Oh, I have my direct, you got to change the grid to draw like that. So anyway, I drew it, but I don't like my handle now. So I'm going to go back to my other tool. And I'm going to pull this down a little bit if I can. And now I'm kind of moving it down and out a little bit. All right. And then maybe you want some windows on here. So we could do some blue windows. I'm going to get my tool here, maybe do, and again, I'm just kind of playing with, but you can maybe put, if you did like, say, glass windows, then what you would do to do that is you would need to get a style. You would have to kind of cut out the window in the middle and then put a glassy style on it. So, I'm not going to kind of get into that here. You need to go in and kind of take a look at your I'm just moving things around while I'm talking to you. So you need to go in and kind of take a look at your styles there, because there's a lot of different styles that you can use, to create all sorts of fun stuff. And like I kind of showed you before with the gradients, I mean, you could put like orange panes on this or something if you wanted to. So some kind of orange panes to separate, maybe use, I just used the square here, but you might want to use, say the line tool or something, and that too will draw in perspective for you. But anyway, I'm just showing you quick here what some of the things you can do, and you guys can clean it up. All right. The next thing I want to do, so you need to kind of use your vision and decide how you want to, lay out your building here and what you want to do. Do go into the graphic styles. There's all sorts of things inside your graphic styles that you can use to create some interesting effects. Under here, if I go to styles, oh, they, oh, here, they did put it down here. So you've got your swatches libraries, you have your graphic style libraries, so you have all sorts of things in here. Illuminate styles. If you pull that up, you see that you can get some really nice windows, a window look, clear look, if you wanted to do that. But there are all sorts, again, it's under window and then graphic style libraries, and there's all sorts of things. Neon, if you want to make a neon light, a neon sign or something. Scribble effects, here's that textures I was talking about. So you have all sorts of different textures. You can do brick buildings or something. If I were to select this and then do my bricks, now it's brick building. Now you'd have to go into your appearance palette. You're going to have to go in and kind of read about this, about how this fills and all, so that you don't get, so that it's filling in perspective and you don't have, a whole bunch of weird stuff going on. But anyway, there's all sorts of, textures that you can do. I'm going to do that. So let's look at sign. That's going to be kind of the last thing here I'm going to show you. So I'm going to hit the 4 buttons so I get this outside so I can just draw up here on top. And I'm going to go ahead and get, say, a rounded rectangle. And I'm going to make a rounded an oval here. This is going to be kind of my sign. And I don't want the corners so rounded. So I need to go in here and make sure that I change my corners on here. So sorry, I'm hesitating because the 2020 is now a little bit different here, and I need to go in and find where my panel is for transforming this style. If I can do, oh, I'm sorry, guys. Where did they put my window for my rounded? It used to be under the appearance and it's not here. Well, let's see if it is here. No. All right, well, I guess we'll leave the sign. Don't want to sit here and waste. The problem is I'm recording this in QuickTime and I can't pause it, so oh, unbelievable. Let's see. Let me think here one more second. Let me double click on this. Let me get my selection tool and double click on this. Well, it's giving me my path, but I don't see it. There are probably some of you yelling at me right now saying it's right there. All right. Well, we'll have to go with the sign looking like this. So I'm going to rotate this, and then because I don't want to waste any more time. And then what I'm going to do is put text in here. I'll just say something like coffee. And so what I want to do is I'm going to type it with, say, oh, that orange would pop. I'm not sure that it's going to look very good, but it's not the point of this. So I'm going to type it with my vertical type tool here. And I'm going to go and type that over here first, and then I'll drag it on top of the sign. I'm going to make it use that orange, like I said, and then we'll go ahead and type coffee, and then I'll change the size and everything once I'm done here. So I'm going to go ahead and enlarge that. And I'll also kind of make it a little bit more interesting. I don't know, Minar probably would be okay. And I'll take it up to 72, and that's a little too big because it's going off the page. All right, so now we got coffee. And for you guys, you know, when you do this, you might want to do a bevel and emboss, or, you know, drop shadow or something. You can go in and do all sorts of, I mean, there are all sorts of fun stuff, styles and so on that you can do. If I put a drop shadow on it, probably take down the blur a little bit. That might be, you know, look kind of interesting. Let's put that together a little bit better. And while I'm in here, since I did this, and this is good, because when you change this, so what I do not want to do now is, because that was kind of offset a little bit too much with the X and Y values, what I want to do is not go up here to effect and then go back into my stylize and drop shadow, because all you're going to do is add another drop shadow. So instead, when you're going to change this, what you want to do is click on this drop shadow in your appearance palette. So pull the appearance palette up and then click on drop shadow. And now you can go in here and change the size. So I'm going to go in and put in something like 0.02 and 0.02 on this. And then 0.1 for blur. 0.01, I mean. All right, and that's kind of that's, you know, I can live with that. I would certainly play with it a lot more and fix it a little better, but for now and for the sake of this, I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And then what I want to do is drag this onto my sign. And I want to make sure that it's in front, of course. And again, like you can see with the drop shadow, it's just a little too much in some areas, so it's not quite showing the way you would want it to show. So now to move this, what we want to do is, because I want to have this move all together, and then I'm going to hang that on the building here. But I don't want to take it and move it down here right now, and I'm going to shorten to my oval that I don't know where in heaven's name my sides are to change. That's just driving me nuts that it's moved somewhere different and I can't find it. Anyway, I'm going to select the whole thing. So what I did was I got my selection tool. I'm going to click and drag around it and select the whole thing. The other thing you might want to do is put, like, you know, some bevel and emboss or something on the sign so it stands out a little more. Right now, you know, it's going to be kind of blah against here, but you know, you can do that, go in and kind of fix that. I have the whole thing selected. Again, I clicked and dragged around the whole thing. So I have both the type and the rectangle tool selected. And now I'm going to group it. Grouping is just Command G. And that's a shortcut, a shortcut that you need to learn. It's also under your object group. And so now it's grouped. And now what I want to do is, my thought process here is that I want to go in and have this so that when I drag this over to here, it's actually on here in this perspective, but then I'm going to take the direct selection, the perspective selection tool, and move it over here so that it transforms it to where it looks like it's hanging on the outside of this. All right. So let me show you how we do that. So again, I'm going to get my perspective tool here. I want to hang it on here. So I'm going to select this and I'm going to drag it down to here, and you'll see that it automatically puts it in perspective on there. So there it is on there in perspective, but that's not where I want it. I want to hang it out here. So this is where this whole thing comes in, where you don't want to like, where you have to kind of have your numbers ready to go here. If I take this now and drag it out here, you'll see that it kind of enlarges it, and it's kind of looking like it's out there, you know, hanging off the side. And like I said, if you had put like a bevel and emboss and that kind of thing on it, it would, you know, be hanging pretty good here. I'm going to get my perspective selection tool again, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of shorten this up a bit. So I want to click and drag and create, shorten it here. A little more, a little smaller. And now we're starting to get kind of the look of what I'm going for. So again, the idea is, and you know, you might want the green, this rectangle tool that I had drawn, this one, you know, initially, the rounded one. You might want the green now to kind of come out a little bit more. So you would have to go in and kind of, you know, double click on that and readjust it, maybe ungroup this and then pull the rectangle out a little bit further. But you kind of can get the idea of what I was going for here with hanging the coffee sign out there on the side. If you had doors and windows and that kind of thing, it would start looking pretty good on here. Right? All right, I can't think of too many anything else really that I want to show you. A lot on those other videos that I have selected here are, you know, give you some more information that you might want to, you know, use. And then otherwise, I think that's it. If you have any other questions, when you start working on this, again, don't hesitate to shoot me an email or a message and let me know you need help. And again, as always, I can always connect with you on Zoom if we need to walk through your file specifically and see if I can't help you figure it out. Otherwise, today is your thumbnails are due, and I'm done. Over and out.